Hello, Allie.
Hello, Melissa. How are you?
You
Even though
know,
we just talked for like 25 minutes about that.
no, what do you mean? We just picked up the phone and started talking. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm doing pretty good, actually.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a new year.
it is.
It's 2023 and I would say it's safe to say that you and me have both had significant life changes going on.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
And it's a new year. So, let's talk about what we talk about best, which is music. That
yeah.
way we don't have to talk about anything harder than that.
Yes, yes. I think we both could benefit from just like a good, wholesome music talk right now.
I think so too.
Yeah, yeah.
And since it's the start of the year, it's no better time than to recap the best albums of 2022 according to us.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I guess like what I did here is what I kind of have is when I was making this list I realized that there were albums last year that I listened to a lot and I'm like very familiar with and there's
Yeah.
others that I didn't listen to as much. And so my ranking, I feel like it's significant to say that I have a ranking and I also have honorable mentions just
Okay.
because I feel like if I would have listened to some albums more, my listing could have been different. But
Agree. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So this is a listing of like part of what made these albums in the top 5 that I have is how much I am familiar with them, I guess. Like there were others that maybe if I was more familiar with them or had more time to get more familiar with them, they would be
Mhm.
higher, but that's kind of like my little thing that I wanted to add.
I agree. That is, I think, a little bit the way that mine ended up too. I have 5 albums on this list, and it was honestly a little bit difficult for me to list 5 albums that I felt strongly enough to say were my favorite albums of the year.
Mhm.
And I think part of that is because of what you just said. I think I had like 3 albums that I like actually really listened to like a lot, and I was like, oh my god, these are the albums, and I listened to them so much that I didn't listen to other stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing that happened was I listened to I like kind of my quote unquote new music that I listened to was not actually new. I think I got
Oh,
into a couple
uh-huh.
of bands
Yeah.
and like their music was new to me and I
Mhm.
listened to their album a lot and it was like probably one of my top albums of the year, but it didn't come out last year.
Yeah. I only included albums that were released last year.
Yes, that is
Okay.
that is what I did too.
Yeah.
But I think the reason that my list was kind of like difficult for me to make was because I wasn't including albums
Yeah.
that came out before last year because like I can even just think like the Spanish Love Songs album was a
Mm.
big one for me this
Mhm.
year.
Yeah. I had
Um
an elder brother, is that the band? They opened for Streetlight Manifesto and I've had their
mhm.
CD, whatever I looked it up to see what year it was released, but don't remember what it's called because I've just been
Yeah.
listening to it in my car like on repeat this whole year. And I've like fallen in love with it, but it's like it wasn't released last year, you know? So,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you
Um
want to kind of like start with number 5 and go up and like switch like we
yeah.
do? Yeah.
I think so. I would imagine that we're going to have at least 2 to 3 overlaps, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So, we'll discuss as we go.
Yeah. And I
But since we're only
did.
doing,
Yeah.
oh, I was just gonna say, since we're only doing 5 each, and there will probably be overlaps, I think we can talk in some detail about these albums, which is always good for us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
I did rank them like one,
me
two, three,
too.
four, five, but it
Yes.
is like I feel like especially 2, 3, 4. I've switched back and forth a few times.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
this is ranked, but tentatively.
Yeah, as I think we always say this every time we
Yeah.
do a ranking, we're
Yeah.
like, it's ranked, but like, don't hold me to it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So,
Um,
do you want to start?
I do want to start,
Yeah.
and this one is one that I would imagine might be on yours as well, and maybe just in your honorable mentions, but I don't know. Is Being Funny in a Foreign Language by the 1975.
Yeah, I mean, I will just say because I don't think it matters in a ranking of 5, but that one at this moment on my list is actually number 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was number 5 for me, but I did get a lot, so, again, the ranking is a little bit subjective.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this album, I mean, I think it's always pretty true for me that once I see a lot of the songs on an album played live, I like the
Yeah.
album a lot more.
Yeah, and we just saw them not that long ago.
We did,
So,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, this album, I like a lot of the 19, like, I don't think that there's really been an album by 1975 that I'm like, ick, like, I think all of them have hit, but I would say this one kind of surprised me a little bit, because like the first two albums I loved a lot, and then the two albums after that, I loved one of them more than the other, and they were both like a little bit more mid for me. Like, they weren't bad, I liked them a lot, but I think like the first two albums just like hit so hard that I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And then this one was like surprising because I was kind of thinking that it was gonna like keep going downhill a little bit, but it didn't. I would not say that Being Funny in a Foreign Language hits as hard as like the original 1975 album.
There's just something
But
about the first album and
yeah,
an only slightly lesser extent the second album that
yeah,
is like discovering it and that time in your life and how long it's been around and the amount of time that we've
exactly,
had to become attached. Yeah, there's something about like I totally
exactly.
understand what you're saying. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
something about that
but
first
this
album.
album, yeah, this
Yeah.
album, Being Funny in a Foreign Language, like struck some of the same feelings, not to the same extent, but
Yeah.
still did.
Yeah.
And I really liked it. And yeah, not all of the songs. I think there are a couple that I'm a little like, eh. But there are definitely a bunch that I really like. And yeah, definitely seeing them live really like cemented that as an album that I would choose to be on this list.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um
I created a playlist on Spotify actually that I've been listening to for just the past few days at work to like kind of prepare a little bit more for this podcast of these top 5 albums.
Yeah.
Well, actually some of my honorable mentions too. So like a bunch of my top
Yeah.
albums. And whenever I heard a song from this album, like I put it higher on my list than it originally was because I was like, you know what? Like this is really doing it for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like at work
it.
almost crying. Oh Caroline is playing and I'm like, okay, this
Oh my
needs
God,
to be
yeah.
higher on my list. Yeah. I really
Yeah.
think that's
Oh
my favorite
Caroline
song
is a
on that
good-
album.
Mine,
Especially after seeing it live. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine, I think, is Looking for Somebody to Love.
Oh, that see, and there's just a groove. There's a groove to so many
Yeah.
of these songs that is like
Yeah.
so good. Yeah.
I also love I'm in Love with You. That one
Yeah.
really,
It's very cute.
I don't know. Honestly, a lot of them. Yeah, I like this album. It gives me like some like classic happy but like in a sad way
Yeah.
vibes that the
Yeah.
1975 is so good at. Like that's why I
Yes.
like the 1975.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, I like this. I also really like I think this is one of my favorite the 1975 tracks. You know what I mean? Like the opening track called the 1975.
I heard that one like yesterday, I think, and I was thinking that too. I was like, this is like their best the 1975 because they did like their first one. I mean, maybe you would have to say is their best because it was the first one, and when I do go back and listen to that one again, I'm like, okay, this hits too.
It is,
and then they reimagined it once or twice. They kept the same like general vibe in the lyrics, and then they had Greta
I think
yeah. So they like switched it up. And so this one is another like not the same lyrics as before, like totally different switched up track, but still the 1975. But it's like not just another track. It's like its own thing on this album, I think. Like it's
Yeah.
like to me it like stands out, and I as like like it could have its own title. It can be a different song if it wanted
Yeah.
to be. Yeah.
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 Yeah. No, I really like this album. I think that they didn't go in the like super safe direction,
Mm.
which I appreciate. Like they still like did something like interesting with this album, which I feel like, especially because they're getting a lot bigger, they absolutely could do the like, you know, we're talking about the best albums of the year. I didn't want to name any names about the worst album of the year, but they could have gone in the Panic at the Disco
Oh no.
direction, and like made a bad album now that they're famous.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that, so I
Yeah.
appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, briefly I'll just say that I tried to listen to the Panic at the Disco album again, and it just is so
Really?
bad.
I still haven't even tried once. I've like
Yeah, I don't
yeah,
think you
haven't
need
even
to.
yeah.
Yeah, because I felt bad because I listened to an old Panic at the Disco song the other day, and I was like, God, this is so good. Am I
Yeah.
really like just being pretentious? Is the new album like really that bad? And I tried to listen to it again, and it was really that bad.
Oh no.
So that album, no spoilers, is not on my top 5 list.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
What's your number 5?
Yeah, my number 5 is Palaye Royale's Fever Dream. Surprise,
Okay.
surprise. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is in my honorable mentions, and I think because I didn't listen to it enough.
Yeah. And you know, let me like pull up the track list too. I could have listened to this album more too as well. Like I have like I could say a little bit about it, but not like a lot because I'm not as familiar with it as I would like to be. I think a little bit of what did it was when it was first released. It took me like a little bit to listen to it, like not like too long, but like a little bit. And they kept saying, like the band and stuff, they were like, if you're gonna listen to this, please listen to it like front to back, you know, because there's songs that are like meant to go into other songs in a certain way and stuff like that. And so they're like, please listen to it front to back. And so I did, and I was like, okay, yeah, that was a good idea. I get it. And there are, yeah, now that I'm looking at it, yeah, there's some songs in here that are like really, there's some really new directions for them in this album, which I appreciated. I think that some of them were like super good, done like really well. Yeah.
I definitely want to listen to this album more, and I might regret that I didn't listen to it enough before we like, you know, made this list. Because now that I'm looking at the track list, Broken is a song that I did listen, because that was one of the singles. And I did listen to that song a lot, and I like that song a lot.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And that's one song actually that I was thinking that has a sort of vibe that I don't think they've really done before, but I think they did really well. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I've listened to this through like once. And I don't know why. Like, I remember when I listened to it, I was like, yeah, okay. But I don't even think I listened to it with like that much intention when I did. I think I just like listened to it like while I was doing something else, or like, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know like I like a couple of the tracks I can like hear in my head, you know, when I read the title, but like most of them I don't even remember like which track is which. And I think that that's like my fault, you know, like I should have listened to this, but I just didn't.
Yeah. And this was really an interesting one to me too. I just have like maybe one or two little things just because we have time. Is this one I feel like doesn't hit as aggressively as their last one was the Bastards, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And that one was hard.
Yes, which I so appreciate. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
This one I think was not as aggressive, but I hesitate to say it's not as good just because it's not as aggressive. I think it's more emotionally like diverse. And they're like I said before, they're like trying out some different things. They've got a guest artist on one song that I thought was pretty cool. Yeah, and it's got some like lyrics that I'm sure when people turn 18 they're gonna get tattooed on their body and stuff like that. So like I think that they're still heading in a direction that I'm excited for. Like I'm really continuing, like this album is like I'm continuing to be excited about this band, having known about them since they released their first album, and now this is their fourth one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, awesome. Like, I'm continuing to be excited about it. I'm loving the direction this is going. We're like maturing in our musical sound. We're progressing. We're experimenting. Like,
Yeah.
I appreciate this album. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like, definitely this album, I would like to listen to it more, and I would definitely, like, I'm still following Palaye Royale. I'm still, like, when they put out the next album, I will still, like, be listening, and, maybe this will teach me a lesson to, like, actually pay attention,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is your number 4?
My number 4 is on this list because it needed to be, but it is technically not an album.
Okay.
It is an EP. And it is Theresa by the From Bottoms.
Oh yeah. Okay. So that one, there's two things about that EP slash album, whatever, that
Yeah.
I will say is that, one, I did not listen to it enough, and I think that's a reason why it's not on my list. And two, it's an EP, so I did ignore it. I did like the opposite of what you did. It wasn't quite significant enough for me to like put on my list, even though it's not an album. And I think it's because I did not listen to it enough. So
yeah, I did listen to this album a lot, or this EP, I suppose. It literally is 5 songs, so it really is not an album.
Yeah.
But I did listen to it a lot because Abe and I saw the Front Bottoms in Tacoma, like, right after this was released.
Yeah.
And so I listened to it a bunch because I knew that they would play songs off of it, which they played one song off of it.
Yeah.
Even though it was, like, the tour for this EP, but, like, whatever. The Front Bottoms do what they want to do.
Yeah.
But they played my favorite song off of this EP at the show, and that was, like, maybe one of the only, like, great moments of that show. The Front Bottoms were fine.
Yeah, the venue was bad.
The venue, yeah,
I've heard all about the venue. Yeah,
yeah, it was very bad, and honestly, like, the Front Bottoms are fine, but they, like, because we've seen them once before, and they popped the fuck off.
Yeah.
And this time, like, I'm not coming for Brian. He did fine, but, like, it was not as much as it could have been. And also, I think that they just chose, like, a bad set list, which is sort of their fault, but also I don't like, I'm sure it was great for other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It just was not, like, appealing to my specific ones, which I'm like, okay, that's
I get
fine.
that. That has happened to me. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, they did play Hello World by from the Theresa EP, which is not the most popular song on the EP.
Oh.
But it was a single. I think there was, like, 2 singles, and it was one of the singles. And I think it's one of the best songs that the Front Bottoms have ever written.
Wow.
Like, I think it's
I should
so
listen
good.
to it again. Yeah, because I know I've heard this EP,
so good.
but I need to, like, get back on it.
Yes. I love the song Hello World from that EP. I think it's so good. Anyway, so that's, like, that song alone, like, got the Theresa EP, like, onto my list. Because that's, like, one of my favorite songs of the year. And yeah, I loved it a lot. I also love this, like, whole EP project by the Front Bottoms, the Grandma EPs. I think that's so cute and fun.
Yeah.
So, love that as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then the rest of the EP is good too. Like, More Than It Hurts You and the Bongo song are also both, like, banger tracks. So highly recommend this EP. Big fan.
Yeah.
Liked it a lot. Love the Front Bottoms a lot, even though I'm complaining about their show. I love them so much.
Yeah, the Front Bottoms is a weird one because it's like, how could you be a band with that specific sound and vibe and energy and continue to release music that is good?
Yeah, because it's like, at what point do we all
it?
like?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But yeah, I actually think that this EP is, like, kind of an answer to that. Because they don't, like, just do the same exact thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And they've done some things that are different before that have not been received well.
Yeah.
As I've, like, kind of been following the Front Bottoms since high school.
Yeah.
I'm not like a super hardcore fan or anything, but like I follow them. Like I know what they're releasing and I'll listen to their releases and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also kind of like see how things are received, just like generally.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
definitely like when they started to sound different.
Yeah.
Like a while ago at this point. It was like people were like
Yeah.
not about that. But it's like, well, if the Front Bottom sounded like their first EP and albums like forever, then
Forever?
that would be like bad.
Yeah, because it was bad, and like
Yeah.
that was the point.
Yeah, that was like something that happened like right place, right time, and it's like genius for what it is, but it's very specific and unique and
Yes.
should not be replicated over and over again.
Yeah, and it would be boring, and like not only
Yeah.
would they not be able to like fully replicate it because it was so dependent on like context, but also like it would be just like they wouldn't be able to do it again, and also they shouldn't even want to.
Yeah.
And they don't. And so I'm like, yeah, good.
Yeah, so props to them for continuing to release things that are still, got it going on.
Yeah. What is your number 4?
My number 4 is Glacier Veins' Lunar Reflection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I am aware of this album, but I have not listened to all of it. I've listened to like 2 tracks off of it.
I totally recommend it. I also super, super recommend the album that they released before this one. I'm not remembering what it's called right now, which I feel bad about.
That album I actually have listened to a lot.
The purple one?
Yeah, that album, there's a couple of songs on that album that I like love.
Yes.
Circle, is there one called Circle?
Yes, Circles.
I think?
Yeah.
Yes. I love that song.
Totally know what you're talking about. Yes. Good. I'm glad that you listened to them. Because they're Portland local, as you know. So they're pretty small. They played Warped Tour. That's so cool.
Yeah, I like met her at Warped Tour in line.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
And I remember that I was the one who told, or like maybe you also heard about them like when you were doing your project, but I was like, oh, make sure you interview Glacier Veins.
I don't remember who told me about them. I feel like it wasn't you, which I'm not like saying that to be like
no, I'm like I said, I'm because I know you were doing your own research too. But yeah, I remember being like, you should interview them. And anyways, I love Glacier Veins too. But I have not listened to the newest album, and I should.
Yeah, and she is super sweet, and I finally saw them. I believe it was the beginning of 2022. I like checked to make sure, but I believe it was. So like the beginning of 2022, I finally saw them after like I interviewed them in it must have been 2018, the end of 2018 for my senior project for college. And when I saw them at the beginning of this year, I did the like, oh, like maybe you remember me. And she totally like, before I even finished speaking, she was like, oh my gosh, Melissa. Like she totally remembered me. It was very sweet.
I love that.
Yeah. And I like finally I bought like both their albums because this one had just been released. And it's one of those that's been like my Spotify Wrapped did not reflect this, but it's one of those albums that was in my car because I have the 6-disc CD like rotation.
Yeah.
And it's one that was in the rotation for like most days of this year.
Nice.
And it's so. They call themselves dream punk, I believe. It's like a little bit like modern pop punky, like a little bit, they're like a Warped Tour band. It's not like super hardcore or anything, but it's guitar driven. I love it. So it's a little bit more like chill punky vibes. A little bit different, but not too different from like what I usually listen to. So I don't think this is like a huge like out of left field for me, but I genuinely like super vibe with this album. I enjoy it so much. And it had to go on the list.
I love that.
Yeah.
Also, I just have to say that their merch is always so cute.
Yeah.
Because I follow her on Instagram, and she like posts about their merch a lot, and I want to buy it all the time.
Yeah.
Simply on like aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
I pay attention to what they do because I would love to go to any show that I can, and so like if I do, and I would like totally pick up some merch for you.
Yes, they have this one, and it's like it looks like it's the album art for this new album.
Oh yeah.
But it's like 2 hands like holding like
it's
strings
like
with like the planets.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
That it's been in my cart like 3 separate times.
Oh no.
and then I just didn't buy it because
Oh my
I like
god.
didn't have money or I don't know.
We should
But
totally like be matchy. I would love to also.
yes, it's so
It's
cute.
so cute. Yeah.
I love Glacier Veins.
Yeah.
I'm
I
glad that
bought
their
when
album
I
is on your
yeah,
list.
yes. When I saw them, I bought both of their albums and a candle. It smells very good. So I have the candle.
Hmm.
It's also very cute. Yeah, I could like send you a picture of it. It's really cute.
Oh my god,
But
yeah.
yeah. So what is your number 3?
My number 3 is one that I am certain is not on your list.
Okay.
And my number 3 is "Bleed Out" by the Mountain Goats.
Oh yeah, I saw that that was released this year. Like for whatever reason, I knew that that was a
Yeah.
release or last year, I guess. But
Hmm.
yeah, okay.
And I really it's so the Mountain Goats have a million albums, like literally like probably
Yeah.
close to 40 albums.
Yeah, so like basically a
And
million.
yeah, and
Yeah.
they're not just like a million albums for no reason. Like every album is like an album. Like they aren't just like putting out random like compilation albums or something. Like it's like they make an album. They make an album twice a year pretty much.
That's so
And they have for like 20
amazing.
years.
Genuinely.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
most of them are good. Like some of them kind of fall flat, but
I mean, when you
most of
have
them are
that many albums and you're just like churning out music at an exponential rate, like they can't all be bops. Like it's just not realistic.
yeah. But
Yeah.
this album "Bleed Out" is one of the better ones. I
Oh.
actually like a lot of their newer music. But this one I liked especially, and they had it's the lead single on the album and the first one that I heard. And it's like the first song on the album, and it's called "Training Montage," and it kind of sets the scene for like what this album like. They always have themed kind of albums, which I makes sense because they put out so many albums. You would assume that they're kind of like doing them thematically, you know. And so this whole album is kind of themed around like sort of a, like movie, like an action movie type of like soundtrack. But so like all of the lyrics and all of the music that they're doing, it makes you feel like you're in like an action movie, like a heist movie.
That's really fun. I love that.
Yeah, and so like the cover is this like Pulp Fiction type like
Oh.
album art, and they're like, you know, and it's called "Bleed Out" because they're like laying on the floor like bleeding out. And like the first song is called "Training Montage," and it's like in the movie when they're like getting ready for the heist and like, you know, getting all this stuff ready. But there's this like lyric in it, and it goes like, "I'm doing this for revenge. I'm doing this to try to stay true." And it goes so hard.
Okay.
And like it like gets me so pumped. Like I don't it just like makes me feel like yes, like I'm in my
Good.
training montage like right now, you know, like I'm getting ready for the big event. And so that's that song, and it stuck with me a lot. Like that song is kind of like my like theme music for the year a little bit, you know. Like I was kind of like, okay, yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
And like that was kind of the tone of like most of the album. I just thought it was like a really fun, like well done themed album, but like especially for I guess this time in my life where I'm trying to like get pumped up and like, you know, take names, you know, so to speak, like not in a
Yeah.
heist way, but like in a, you know, career development way.
Yeah. It's the energy. Yeah.
Exactly. So anyways, I thought this album like hit me right when it needed to, and I like it a lot. It's a really fun album. And yeah, highly recommend. I got this album for Christmas on vinyl as well, and
Good.
it is yellow vinyl, which makes
nice.
everything better.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's my number 3.
Awesome.
Love it. Highly recommend, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd like it.
I still
but
need to listen to literally any Mountain Goats. You've given me recommendations.
yeah,
And I just
yeah.
haven't yet. I should put that back up.
I'm gonna
at the
put
top
Training
of my
Montage on that playlist,
Okay.
and then when you finally listen to it, you'll hear it.
Yeah, okay. So I guess I already we already talked about my number 3, which was the
Yes.
1975's Being Funny in a Foreign Language.
Good.
And so I don't think I've like thought anything since we talked about it, so we can go ahead and just go to should I just go to my number 2 or should we go back to you?
Yeah, why don't you do your number 2?
Okay, yeah. My number 2 is Shadow Academy's debut self-titled album.
Wow, okay, I've literally never heard of
Yeah,
this.
it is. Okay, I feel like I've probably talked about it before, but it's very possible that I didn't. I think it was released way at the beginning of the year, but I don't know. A year is long, like I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
so Shadow Academy is a band and it's Dan Avedon and Jim Roach, I believe, are like the two like creative forces of the band, and Dan is from Game Grumps.
Okay.
Um He's the second half of Game Grumps. He's also the like one of two in Ninja Sex Party, the comedy band.
Okay, yes, I've
um
heard of this. Yeah.
yes. And so this band, it's like a brand new band. Dan is a huge Rush fan. And so he likes like that kind of music. Um I've heard him talk about other like progressive type artists and other classic rock artists and like grunge type artists and stuff that he likes. And so that's kind of like context for a little bit of the sound of what Shadow Academy is. Um
Mhm.
I think it is so freaking good. I love this album genuinely so much. Like if I had never heard of him before, because I'm already like a fan of Game Grumps, I don't know if I would say I'm a fan of Ninja Sex Party, but you know, like I,
That would be
I,
bold.
I'm just not like super into like comedy music, but
Yeah, yeah, that's
you
fair.
know, so like I'm a fan of other things that he's a part of, and I think
Hmm.
that I've met him, and I think that he seems like a spectacular person. But I genuinely feel like if I had no idea who he was and I heard this album, I would think it was a really good album. Um,
Okay.
yes, and so I'm like, this is not just because I like this guy. Like I think that this album is so good. I recommend it to like literally everybody at least to just check out. It's got I feel like I had better descriptors for it when it came out and it was new and I was like, "Oh, this sounds like
Hmm.
this." But to me it's like to me it sounds like the uh like culmination of everything that he's been trying to do like his life because he's a big music guy. He's been in bands since college, like he's been playing music. Um and so that's like obviously something that he has wanted to do all his life and has put a lot of focus in, and
Hmm.
it's because of his Game Grumps, like his YouTube career, that he like gets to do this, really, which is super cool. But to
Yeah.
me it sounds like I'm not gonna like say that he peaked or anything like that. That's like not my decision. I don't
Yeah.
know, that like feels weird to say, but like kind of like that. Like to me it sounds like um it just is so mature. It's like for a debut album, it's absolutely spectacular. It's just like um it's guitar driven, obviously. I think it hits so hard. It's not hardcore rock. Um you
Yeah.
know, as in like actual hardcore, you know, like metal core stuff.
Hmm.
It's but it's like a pretty driving rock. It has some really, I mean, it sounds a lot like it has 80s ideals, I think, as in, you know, it's got the songs that you have on the B side of the album that are slow, and it's
Yeah.
got like, you know, the really like hard-hitting uh driven stuff with bass. It's got some really cool, to me it's got these Rush influences where it has a little bit of like some cool polyrhythm stuff going on, maybe if that's the
Okay.
word, you know, but like a little bit of like cool music theory stuff happening, you know. Um and I think he has a spectacular voice as well. And so I'm just like so proud of him. I'm like, this sounds like every single song I think is good. Like it's a zero skip album for me, and it sounds like every person that was a part of this project put their entire heart and soul into every song the entire time. Like
Okay.
zero slacks on this album. To me, like, I feel like I'm talking it up like a lot, but that's just because I feel very strongly about this album.
Yeah, I mean, this is your number
So,
2. I respect it.
yeah, I feel so strongly about this album. And so,
I love
yeah,
that.
I definitely recommend it. And I don't know, I'm like really curious to know if you do listen to this album. It has also spectacular album art.
Okay.
Yeah, it's super cool. If you do listen to this album, I'm curious to know like what you think it sounds like, or like what you think of it.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, I would
it's
love to
really,
listen to it.
yeah, or maybe if you're like surprised, or yeah, but yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's super awesome. So that's my number 2. What is yours?
My number 2 is Sweet Tooth by Mom Jeans.
Oh, I do not know anything by Mom Jeans.
I think you should.
Yeah,
because you would
yeah.
like it.
Okay.
I actually think that there might be one song by Mom Jeans that you do know, but you don't like know it's by them or something.
Okay.
Because it's like, it's very like modern baseball-y.
Okay. I'm a fake emo and I don't know anything by modern baseball, which I
Oh.
hate to admit. I absolutely like it
Yeah,
literally
what?
physically hurts me to admit that. And I don't know why, because I
Yeah.
want to listen to them. And I
Yeah,
know
you
there's
should.
significance in the musical community that I feel very strongly connected to.
Yeah.
So I feel incredibly like I'm exposing myself, like completely doxing myself right now for saying that I don't know anything by them. It's possible that I've listened to them before and I just didn't save any of the songs.
Maybe, yeah.
So yeah, I guess I'll have to add Mom Jeans to that list.
Yeah, well, you should listen to Best Buds by Mom Jeans, that album, maybe before Sweet Tooth, because it's like better, but it didn't come out this year.
Oh yeah.
But I got into Mom Jeans this year. Like, I really like didn't know very much about. I had heard like those songs that I'm thinking of that I think you might know too.
Okay.
I had heard that. But I wasn't really paying attention to Mom Jeans. And then I was in the record store in Bellingham, and I saw this album, Sweet Tooth by Mom Jeans, in like it had just come out like that day, and it was in the record store, and it was on baby pink vinyl.
Oh.
And it was like, it was such a good price. I don't even remember how much, but it was like not. It was not like $30, you know, it was not like a new record price.
Yeah.
And it was on baby pink vinyl, and I had literally like, I was so vaguely aware of Mom Jeans, but I knew that there was like one song that I liked, and I knew that there was a single from this album that I had heard at one point that I was like, oh, okay. And so I just bought it, like, for no reason. I don't know why, but I just literally was like, I cannot resist pink
I get
vinyl.
It. Yeah.
And so I just bought it, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'll probably like this. I don't know. So I like bought it, and I got home and I played the album, and I was like, oh my god, like this is so good.
Good.
And then I entered a Mom Jeans phase for like literally 3 months, and I just listened to Mom Jeans over and like I listened to so much Mom Jeans. I listened to this album, and I listened to Best Buds. They're like, I actually don't know if Best Buds is their first album, but it's like the most significant Mom Jeans album. I listened to those 2 albums just like constantly for like 3 months. And yeah, this album is so good. It is very modern baseball-y. It's like very Midwest emo.
Okay, yeah.
But this album is a little bit more like Best Buds is very Midwest emo, and this is like a little bit less, like it's a little bit more, I don't want to say poppy, because it's not poppy, but it's like a little bit more in that direction, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe just more towards like mainstream, like pop punk.
Yeah, oh, okay. I get what you mean, yeah.
Yeah. But it kind of is like Front Bottoms-y as well, but like not in, I don't know, this is so vague, but I'm just like, it's like the Front Bottoms, but not when the Front Bottoms are like trying to sound bad.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
it's
like
funny
because you are being vague, but I like understand what you're saying.
Yeah. But
like,
yeah,
I think
really
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this album a lot. There are like, honestly, the whole album is so good, but there's like 5 songs on this that I would like scream to in my car.
Okay.
And they're so good. And also, yeah, it's just like a very cute album. Like the album art is them like jumping naked into like the river.
Oh, yeah.
And like I have it on pink vinyl, so it's like butts and then pink vinyl, and then like all of the like track names are really cute. It's like something sweet, like hippo in the water.
Good.
There's like sugar rush.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think
Cute.
it's good. I
Yeah.
highly recommend it.
Okay. Okay.
This song really like was an era for me in 2022.
Good. Okay.
I can only imagine that we have the same
I know.
number one.
We have to have the same number one. Okay. So
um,
it's "The Hum Goes On Forever" by the Wonder
yeah,
Years.
it's gotta be.
Yeah.
It's gotta be.
It has to be.
Yeah, The
Yeah.
Hum Goes On Forever by the Wonder Years.
Yeah.
There can't be a Wonder Years album released in a year and we don't,
Honestly, and it like can't be number one. Yeah. I think that
yeah,
that's
it's
just
just
not.
not likely to be the case.
Yeah.
And I think we literally already talked so much about this
Yeah.
in a different podcast, but as I've like, because we recorded that other podcast like the day that we like heard it for the first time,
Oh
I
yeah.
think, or like
Yeah.
right after.
Mhm.
Yeah, because you came to visit like the day it came out.
Yeah, because we like laid around and listened to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say that like as time has gone on, a couple of songs have like really grown on me. The Doors I Paid and Shut is really one of my top picks off of that album.
Yeah. This is
And
one that it's interesting because I'm looking at the track list and I feel like my shuffle, because since we listened to it, I think there was only one or two other times that I listened to this album like front to back.
Yeah.
And then, oh my gosh, when was it really? September. Okay. I haven't listened, just September. I haven't listened to this album as much as I wanted to. I still am very familiar with it and I still like feel good about it. September's a little bit late, and then like near the end of the year, I had, as you know, like a pretty traumatic time. And
Yeah.
so like around that time, which things started to become very stressful, like a month from this album being released, and
Yeah.
if I even thought about the Wonder Years, it was like game over for me. So
Yeah,
I did
fair.
listen to this album, but the Wonder Years, it's like very difficult to listen to if you're going through a genuinely hard time and you're not like
Yeah.
in a space where you feel like you can like let your emotions release.
Fair. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
in one way that has made this album like even more important to me, but in another way it has made it a little bit harder to listen to right now.
Yeah.
And then I'm also mad because there's some of these songs that I really like and they like have not come up on shuffle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I
fair.
want, this song specifically. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we've talked about it a lot, and it has only gotten better to me. It's only grown on me more,
Agree.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
as it has with
Yeah.
you. Yeah. I don't think that I said this in the last podcast, and I think about it every time. So Oldest Daughter is still like one of my top from the album. It was my top single. And
Yeah, Oldest Daughter is so good.
yeah, but every single time I listen to it, I notice that he pronounces it computer.
What?
The library computer.
Oh no, I've never noticed that, and now I'm going to probably.
But I think it's so like, I don't know, it's so like charming. I love it. I'm like, oh, I love this song so much. Computer.
Oh my God.
Every time I think
Computer.
about it. Yeah. It's the
Oh my
very
God. Oldest
beginning.
Daughter
It's
is
like
such a good,
yeah,
such a good song.
yeah. But anyway, that was literally the only thing I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this album so much. I love it so much. Also,
Yeah.
my vinyl finally came. I know that was like a thing I was waiting on, and
Mhm.
I don't know. Did you get the vinyl that had the like extended version?
Yes, that comes with
Of yeah.
the single. Yeah, I did actually.
Because that is really good too.
I actually haven't listened to that. I like have the vinyl like safe and like together, but I haven't like taken out the 45 or whatever.
There's no like more lyrics. It's just like more instrumental. But I like it a lot.
Good. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, anyways, this album goes so hard. I love it so
Yes.
much. I'm always
Yeah.
terrified when like my favorite artist puts out like a new album because I'm like, what if I hate it and then like my life is a lie?
Yeah.
But that was not the case here
No,
at
absolutely
all.
not. I don't even think I
So
was scared before they released this album. I think I was only
no,
excited.
I
And
trust Dan
part of
Campbell.
it was because when they released their first single, which was Oldest Daughter, and I remember
Yeah,
specifically the moment that I was listening to it for the first time, because I was like about to go to bed, but I was like, I gotta listen to this single, and I was laying in bed, and I like played it on my phone, and I was like,
yeah.
yep, yep,
I
yep.
remember when I heard it too because it released while Abe and I were in a rehearsal for the musical we
Oh,
did last spring.
uh-huh.
And I remember like we were like on like a 5 minute break or something like in the rehearsal, and it was like going until like late at night, and the single released, and I was like, oh my god, we have to listen to this like right now.
Yeah,
And he was
yeah.
like, we can't, we are like literally in rehearsal, like you have to wait until like we drive home. And I was like, oh, okay. And so then we drove home from rehearsal, and it was like a 40-minute drive, and I made us listen to the single like
Yeah.
5 times.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But it was so good,
Yeah,
like
I
you
just
can't blame
remember it
me.
made me so excited. I was just immediately
Yes.
so pumped. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. This is
Yeah.
what I wanted. Like, this is what
This
I
is what
needed.
I'm into.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, exactly. Okay.
Good.
And then with that, did you want to, like, did you have honorable mentions that you wanted to list?
I had so the Palaye Royale
Mm.
album was one of mine, and I do have
Hmm.
one other that's on here, but I would love to hear yours.
Yeah, I'm just gonna list them. I feel like maybe there's not too
Yeah.
much I need to say, so I'll just like list them first.
Yeah.
So my honorable mentions that some of them are here because they're generally genuinely not top five. Some of them are here maybe because I just didn't listen to them enough, and they could be top five. So just
Yeah.
like, and I actually have five also. So
Okay.
it's the Driver Era's Summer Mixtape,
Okay.
Boston Manor. Is it pronounced Datura?
Yeah, that's an honorable mention. That's my
Yeah,
other one.
yeah.
Yeah.
LS Dunes Past Lives,
Okay.
The Rex Sonder,
Okay.
and Arctic Monkeys The Car.
I listened to that Arctic Monkeys album like twice, and I didn't think it was bad, but I couldn't get into it.
Yeah, it's in my car because I bought it.
Okay.
We like went to Music Millennium. Oh yeah, it was for our little anniversary, Justin and
Yeah.
I. So like like mid end of November, we went to Music Millennium on like a little date, which was super cute. And I bought
Yeah.
like a ton of the CDs that were released this year that I didn't have. It was like Boston Manor,
Nice.
LS Dunes, Arctic Monkeys, and like one other one. I think I bought like all of those at the same time.
Nice. Yeah.
And so a lot of them have been in my car like since then. And yeah, the Arctic Monkeys, it's like, so when they released, I love the Arctic Monkeys also. They are like,
Yeah.
I love them a lot. When I was in high school, they were one of my favorite bands. I was
Yeah.
very much like Arctic Monkeys Tumblr girl. So um
Yes. Yeah.
and so when they released Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, we were in England, I believe, and I
Yes.
was like, okay, this is like a very chill album, and I'm actually into it because I felt like,
Yeah.
because it was more chill than any of their other albums. The second chillest one I think is AM, which is their most popular one,
Yeah.
which I feel like, it, to me, in my opinion, I think that they peaked musically with AM. I think it
I
is,
agree.
it's the midpoint of before AM. They had most of their music was a lot more energetic, a lot younger. You can
Yeah.
tell they've just like grown and matured, in general. And
Yeah.
I adore their pre AM music. And
Mhm.
so I feel like AM is where there was this turning point to being really chill, I guess is the word that you can use. So Tranquility Base was incredibly chill. But I was like, you know what? I
Yeah.
like that this is an
Yeah.
album as a part of their other albums. Like it, like to be
Yeah.
part of their repertoire, I feel like Tranquility Base fits. Like it's allowed to be there.
Yeah.
We've
I
got like
agree.
all sides of the spectrum. It's done really well, genuinely. The
Yes.
Car is continuing in the direction of being incredibly chill. And
Yeah.
in my opinion, I'm like, well, I kind of am like felt like there didn't need to be two of these albums.
Yeah, I'm like, go back.
Yeah, it's
Go
like
back.
maybe a little
Yeah.
harsh. There's like I enjoy listening to it in my car. I don't think it's bad. There are some
Yeah, I don't think
and
it's
there are
bad.
songs that I think, because I think one of the dangers of having such a chill album is it all kind of like blends together a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that this album has enough dynamic in a way where, as I've listened to it, there are songs that I will like remember and that will stand out to me. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, at least it's not like one long note, you know? Like it's
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think it's like too chill or anything, but it's kind of like, you know? I'm not
Yeah,
gonna,
I agree.
yeah, like go
I
crazy
agree.
about it or anything, yeah. So yeah, that's that. Ellis Dunes is really cool. That was a band that Frank Iero, who's the rhythm guitarist for My Chemical Romance,
Yeah.
started with. There's like him, a guy from Thursday, the lead singers from Circus Survive, and like a couple other guys from different bands. But they're like specifically not like a what do you call it? Like a power group or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's very like classic What It Is, and I think it's written very well. It's like you took all these guys that are really well versed in these kind of like emo alternative rock genres, and you like put them all together in a room, and they wrote a really good album, and I'm super into it.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the last thing that I'll say about these five is Boston Manor's new album was not long enough. It's like what? How many songs are on it? I'm like, is this
like
an
9
EP or
or
an
something.
album? Yeah.
I agree. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an honorable mention for me because there's like one song that I really like on it, and then like the rest I found like a little bit forgettable, but it also might be my fault, you know?
Yeah, I think that a part of it for me is I haven't listened to it that much.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it that much either.
Yeah.
The other thing I think about this is the EP that they put out like right before it that had Carbon Mono on it.
Oh yeah.
Was so good. And not that this album like was bad, but it just like wasn't. I don't know. I think the Desperate Times, Desperate Pleasures EP was like better than this album. It only has 7 songs on it. Like, okay, what are we doing?
Yeah. I don't know if I have the same opinion, just because I feel like I know that EP and this album relatively the same amount of wellness, and I really like. I really like all the songs. But
yeah.
I mean, I feel like a little bit related to kind of like what you're saying is it both the EP and the album to me, I think aren't as, it's like not every single song like stands out a lot to me, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the closest thing I can compare it to is like Welcome to the Neighborhood. Every single song stands out to me.
Slaps and I so agree.
And I think that every song is like good, like I'll listen to the whole thing and I won't like skip anything, but it's not like slapping me in the face like some of their other stuff, you know. Yeah,
I can agree with that.
I also have a very short list that I made that is albums I didn't listen to but probably should.
Okay.
And it is one album, and it is Nickelback's new album.
Oh my god. Yeah, I should have listened to that too.
Did you? Yeah, so you haven't heard it. Okay, so that's what we need to do. So that's not on the list because I haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, but like, you know, if we did listen to it, it probably would be.
You know, I genuinely have no idea. Like, I don't think I've seen any opinions about it. I knew that they released it. So the album cover is very funny to me. I don't know if you've seen it.
I have to look.
But
no, I have to look.
Yeah, it's what's it called? Get Rolling.
Oh my god! Get Rolling.
Yeah. Like,
okay,
it looks very funny. It looks very fun. I'm like, okay. I should probably.
Okay, why did I just like read the track list and I saw track 2 is called Skinny Little Missy?
Yeah.
And why in my head am I singing She Keeps Me Up?
Oh my god.
Skinny Little Missy.
Oh my god. It could be they said that every album they have a song out of left field, like they try to have one song that's just like not the vibe of the album, and She Keeps Me Up is that one off that album, so maybe that one's that one off of this album.
I mean, I don't know. We should absolutely like listen to this and get back to each other on that. I would love to do that.
Yeah. Was there any other musically significant things from last year that you kind of wanted to like, you know, make a little point or anything. I was like, oh, maybe I'll link my concert archives.
Okay.
And just
Yeah.
kind of like, because I'm like, oh, albums that were released. Also, I went to 14 concerts last year. And
Nice.
so I was
I
like, I
don't
could just do
know. Yeah.
like a little rap on that, little concert rap. Yeah. Well, do you have a concert archives?
I do have one.
Yeah.
It's not up to date at the
Mm.
moment.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many concerts I went to last year, but I did go to a fair amount.
Yeah. I'm pretty like religious with keeping up with my concert archives.
Yeah.
And so like I'm pretty good about it.
Mine is up to date. Like from at least like the middle of last year, but I don't know that I've done
Oh yeah.
like the end of the year stuff. And I did go
Yeah.
to a couple concerts like towards the like in the fall winter time. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess I'll just like list them off real quick because I think it's kind of
yeah, do
interesting.
it.
So in February we saw the Wonder Years twice, as you might remember,
Yes.
all the way back in
Yes.
February, and then almost a year from then we're gonna see them again. So
Yes.
that's so
Good.
awesome. In March, I saw Rare Americans with Justin at this like at the Holocene, which is a super little venue that was
Nice.
really fun. I don't know if you've ever heard anything by them. I feel like I maybe talked about them.
Hmm.
They're pretty fun. If you were gonna check them out at all, I would listen to. They have a song called Brittle Bones Nikki, and then they
Okay.
also have Brittle Bones Nikki 2. And it's just super fun. It's a little bit hard to predict if you'll like it. It's kind of different, but it's super fun.
Yeah.
In April I saw Glacier Veins. So that's when I saw Glacier Veins.
Nice.
For my birthday on May 31st, Nicole and I saw Bob Dylan. So I saw Bob Dylan last
Very
year.
nice.
Yeah. In July, I saw Streetlight Manifesto. Yeah, that's when Ryan came down. That was super fun.
Aw.
Yeah. Always amazing seeing them. Oh my gosh. It had been because I've seen them a few times and it was like all in college, like a few years in a row, basically. And then I hadn't until this last time when Ryan came down and it was like nostalgic and it was just like, I forgot that I kind of know like all of the words to a lot of their songs.
Aw.
And it was amazing. Also in July, I saw the Airborne Toxic event with Langston and Justin. Because
Cute.
it was one of their bands. Like it's one of like Langston's bands, and Justin also really likes them. Langston showed me one song in England by them, and I was like, "Oh, this is super good." And so when Justin was like, "Oh, do you want to go with us?" I'm like, "You know what? Sure, I won't pass up like a concert ticket."
Yeah.
I also recently learned just like a slight like digression. That so have you ever heard of the book White Noise?
I have. I don't know anything about it, but I have heard of it. Yeah.
The author's name is Don. I don't know if his last name is pronounced DeLeo. If it's pronounced like Spanish, it's pronounced DeLeo. It's DELILLO.
Yeah.
And so I read it at the end of last year. I had like I brought it with me to Idaho and I read a lot of it there when I was like off work and stuff. And it's really interesting. I think as a book person, I think that I would maybe recommend it to you.
Okay.
Like it could be worth reading. It's super super weird. It's very like to me, it's written super odd in almost I feel like almost a uselessly pretentious way. It's like people don't talk like this. Even in the 80s, I'm sure people didn't talk like this. I don't know. Like the language is a little bit uselessly pretentious to me. But once you kind of like get past that and you're like, okay, I'm in like the vibe of the book now. Like this is just what the book is like. And it's actually written very well. And I learned that because there's a part, it's like part 2 in the book or whatever, is called the Airborne Toxic Event. And that's where this band got their name.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's interesting. Did not know that. And also I think it's an amazing band name. At the end of July, so I saw 3 concerts in July. I saw Rise Against, The Used, and Census Fail with Justin. That was awesome.
Nice.
In August, I saw Five Finger Death Punch with Megadeth, The Who, and Fire from the Gods. That was pretty good. In September, we saw Rare Americans again. They came back, but to the Hawthorne this time. Good for them.
Nice.
That was also super fun. Also in September, I saw Roger Waters with Nicole and our father, and that was amazing. Of course, it was an amazing show. And then in October, I saw My Chemical Romance for the first time. and the second time, and and that was like, without even having to say more, two of the best nights of my life. And then
Yeah.
in December, of course, the 1975 that we saw together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like my concert wrapped. I think it's really cool to me to like look through the year and like think about the concerts that I've been to. It's a good way for me, just with how I am, to like mark as the year went. Like
Yeah.
my progression through the year or whatever is like looking at how many
Yeah.
like where I was, what concerts I saw, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I can give you my shorter list of concerts as well.
Mm.
They're not. I will put them in my concert archive so that you can put it in the description. But
Yeah.
I saw, of course, the Wonder Years twice in February. Also in February, I saw Kaleo at the Showbox in Seattle. And then also at the Showbox Soto in August, I saw Tessa Violet.
Oh yeah.
And then in what is it, October, I saw the Front Bottoms at that venue in Tacoma. And then let's see. Yes, okay, so I saw the Front Bottoms, and then I saw the 1975 with you. I think that was everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and one other one that I forgot is I saw Stromae in
Oh, the
Vancouver.
Canada one. Yeah.
Yes. So I don't know how many that is, but like 6
There's
or
a
7.
handful. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to go like up again, like on your concert archives. When you look at years, it shows like a graph of
Yeah.
like how many concerts.
2018.
Yeah.
I know.
2018 was 23. I literally went to 23 concerts in 2018.
Yeah, I went to 15,
Oh my
but
god,
yeah,
that's so
God,
many. Cause that was the
yeah,
England. I mean, I went to
we
10
did. Yeah,
in
we went to a
England,
lot.
and I don't
Yeah.
know if I don't think you went to all 10 of those. Yeah, because there's one I went to with
Um.
Langston.
Yeah, I went
Yeah,
to 9 of the 10.
yeah,
I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've got like my chart is so funny. It's got this mountain. Like 2017 was 19 concerts actually. 2018 was 23. 2019 was 22, and then 2020 is just 0. Like it just
0.
drops
Simply.
steeply.
Yeah.
And then
I
now like
know.
2021 was 8, and now 2022 was 14, and so I'm like, okay, I'm on the incline again. Like I'm
Yeah.
going back
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I need to update my last couple ones.
Mm.
The other thing I will say that I did this year that I really am proud of myself for doing is I went to a bunch of shows that I didn't put in here. Maybe I should. But I went to a lot of like local shows at like
Yeah.
Bellingham venues
Yeah.
that are like basically seeing my friends play. Um, since I worked at a music store for 6 months, I met most of the local musicians in Bellingham,
That's so
and
awesome.
I managed a bunch of like instructors who were all like on their own music journeys, and so I was like friends with 9 really amazing musicians, and they all are in bands, and I got to go see a lot of them play at like different venues around Bellingham, and that was really cool, and I want to keep doing that
Yeah, that's
in
super awesome.
2023.
I'm like jealous of that. I want
It
Cuz
was
I'm like
the
I want to
best
be
part of
buddies
working
with
there.
all. Yeah, that's so amazing. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I went to the Blue Room, which is like this tiny little like weird venue in Bellingham, probably like 5 times. And I also went to the Shakedown and the Wild Buffalo. Those 3 venues in Bellingham had really cool shows, and I saw my friends perform. I saw some of Abe's friends perform, and I have to say my favorite concert of the year, um, and I'm only saying this because he's probably the only person that's going to listen to it,
Oh,
is I got to see Abe and his friend Simeon do an open mic, and that was really
that's
fun.
so fun. Yeah. Oh, that's so
So
cool.
anyways,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all of our music recap.
Yeah. That's music 2022. Now on to 2023.
Yeah, let's get some good concerts. We're seeing
Yeah.
the Wonder Years again.
Yeah.
We're yeah, I have some other concerts in the works. And I don't actually know of any albums that are coming out this year so far. So I will be awaiting
Yeah, you know
some
what?
releases.
Yeah, I don't think I do either, not at the moment. So, yeah. I
Until
know
then, we have
that
Nickelback to listen
yes.
to.
And I know that Heart Attack Man is recording right now.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Good.
because I follow him on Twitter and he's just like
Oh my
insane.
god.
So,
Yeah. Until next time, I love you.
I love you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.